I present to you the greatest hits to the Israeli economy. Over the course of the year-long genocide, I have observed these 5 or 6 coffin nails that I think have done the job to make Israel go the way of the South African apartheid regime. I'm not sure about the order, but you can tell me. Number 1 has got to be the downgrade of Israel's credit rating on the world markets. This is a headline from Haaretz. Israelis will be poorer under all scenarios. Israel is just 3 rungs above junk rating. Word is out on the street that Israel has not been and maybe cannot pay its debts on time or on their own without a lot of trouble in refinancing. I credit this move to the Norwegian Sovereign Pension Fund, which was ahead of the game, and they dumped Israeli bonds right in November 2023, setting off a chain reaction of people dumping Israeli bonds and trying to reclaim their money, and Israel couldn't pay it back without crazy refinancing. Number 2 is Israel's unaliving a huge part of their workforce, which are Palestinians. After October 7th, Israel lost 100,000 Palestinian workers because it suspended their work license. And of course, Israel has been unaliving them. Now they're trying to replace them somehow with, say, Indian workers, because this labor shortage problem is costing them $828 million a month. So these are actually mostly construction workers. So a lot of construction sites have been put on hold, yet they're very heavily financed and in debt. And if they don't move along a certain schedule, they go bankrupt. And as you can imagine, they haven't been able to fill in these 100,000 vacancies in any good amount of time. So a lot of development projects have gone bankrupt. So we're talking up to $106 billion.
In other words, they're unable to use the Palestinian slave labor, which they've depended on. 100,000 of them, you just heard, where they had their work visas suspended. And in addition, as you also heard, of Israel unaliving the Palestinians, pursuing that policy. It sort of reminds me of the Nazis when they, incredulously, they put ideological preferences over practical considerations when it became evident that they were losing the war, and instead of using their slaves in the concentration camps to create for the war machine to manufacture weapons or whatever, or just contribute to the war economy, they just decided to ratchet up the genocide, even though that was it was contributing to their loss in the wider war, if you will. So I just, another parallel between the Nazis and the Zionists. There really is no shortage of that.
In that sector. What's extra creepy is that even before October 7th, the Israeli Foreign Minister Eli Cohen in May 2023 visited India and signed a deal with India to send 42,000 Indian workers to Israel to replace Palestinian workers. And back then, before October 7th, the trade unions were saying such a step will amount to complicity on India's part with Israel's ongoing genocidal war against Palestinians and will naturally
Indian trade unions reacted to this deal that Israel was trying to strike with the Indian government. And this was before October 7th, and the trade unions are quoted as saying, such a step will amount to complicity on India's part with Israel's ongoing vaginecidal war against Palestinians. So, in other words, they were already calling it this before October 7th? But I thought October 7th was the first day in history. They're talking about a genocidal war against Palestinians even before October 7th, and will naturally have adverse implications for India in the entire region.
Adverse implications for Indian workers in the entire region. So just creepy that the Israeli foreign minister was planning ahead, as if they knew something was going to happen to Palestinian workers. Anyway, just to say that the Indian trade unions are against it. And in fact, 10 Indian trade unions have gotten together representing 100 million Indian workers to say that they are against sending workers to Israel. So if you can imagine, it's not just the current construction projects that are unable to be finished. Let's say after this massacre of Palestinians, Israel still needs to rebuild because it has damage to its illegal settlement towns, and it can't even reconstruct those because there's no Palestinian workers, let alone it tried to settle Gaza
They
or
damaged our settlements.
West Bank.
it.
There's just simply no workers willing to come work for the genocidal state of Israel. They're not going to be able to come back from this lack of low-paid workers. In the agricultural sector, they also lost 30 to 40,000 low-paid workers, largely whom were Palestinian and also people from Thailand. Food prices have also risen due to the higher processing costs without these low-paid workers. At one point, this farmer tried to bus in volunteer Israelis to roll up their sleeves, save their nation, and pluck vegetables before they spoiled. But of course, this can-do, feel-good
The whole
busload
fucking nation of Israel
venture
is
petered
spoiled.
out, and he lost half of his produce and all of his profits. That's what happens when you kill off your low-paid workers. Next has got to be the Houthis' choke point at the Red Sea that has blockaded all imports and exports in and out of Israel.
Israel is just in such a quandary, you know. In order to commit a genocide, you need to have an economy. But in order for Israel to have an economy, they depend on the people that they're genociding. Damn it, Israel! If you're gonna conduct a genocide, don't have it be the people that you depend on for an economy. It's like I gave them. It's literally. I feel like a disappointed father because I gave them all the funding that they needed. I sent them to school, and what do? They eat the books. Ridiculous. I'm just so disappointed is all I can say. Never have I ever met a more incompetent group of people than Israeli shy guys with their ineptitude. It's absolutely legendary, just like their cowardice, okay? I can't speak today, I'm sorry. Never go full Herzl. You just don't do it, folks. It's not a good look. Well, we learned just a moment ago that the Hezbollah drone, actually hit Netanyahu's bedroom. Now, who knows if, even if he was in the bedroom, if it would have K-worded him, unalived him. But thank God nothing happened to Yisrael Chai. Clearly, I want to make that clear. We hope that all Israelis are safe and sound in their promised land. Because let's face it, folks, they're chosen, all right? They were chosen for this. And because they are chosen, that means whatever happens to them is as right as rain. So we can only say that this is the will of God. When we find out that, for example, crybaby Hamasyahu fled to his underground tunnel network to keep alive in his promised land, we can only assume that was God's will, all right? So, yeah, of course, why would he be there, you know? They already scrambled fighter jets over Caesarea because they thought there were some drones flying overhead, which there probably were, but they said there were birds. They're panicking, and it's really a sad look. I am forlorn. I am upset that I've given them so much money and they still can't figure it out, okay? We've thrown so much money at this thing, and it's like polishing a turd. It's just always gonna be a turd, and that's what Israel is. They just can't get the shit together. We gave them healthcare. I don't even have healthcare, okay? I don't have healthcare because I'm so concerned about Israelis. I want them to have healthcare. If I could give my life, limb, and liberty to any one person or group of people, it would be Israelis, and it has been Israelis. And I'm thankful for that. I want them to live on. But why are they f***ing this up so bad? They had a good thing going, you know? It's like that prime minister of theirs, I swear to God, he hates Israel, and he hates my money. He's literally driving those people, driving that country into the ground. Literally. He's underground right now. In fact, after Netanyahu is unalived, he'll be less underground than he is right now. That mother hundreds and hundreds of feet underground right now. You follow me? He is in an underground bunker, far more bunkerfied than Hitler was. He's in a state-of-the-art bunker. It's the best bunker. It's the chosen bunker. But when he's in a box, he's only going to be like a couple feet, you know, underground. I mean, his soul will be in hell, we know that, but he's a bunker dunker. He's dunking in his bunking right now. He's dunking in his bunker right now. That's crazy. Did you tell them to put their kibbutz on your balls? I fucked that up, I'm sorry. Did you tell them to kibbutz their mouth on your balls? That up so bad. I'm sorry. Well, that's why we say he's not Netanyahu, he's Hamas Yahoo.
sea of one of Israel's 3 ports, the port of Eilat. The port city has been paralyzed for months on end, and the Houthis are 10 toes down with the Palestinians. They aren't letting up. They just need to tweet, and insurance rates skyrocket. And at this point,
So
no
he's
major
saying-
shipping company
wait.
ports, the port of Eilat. The port city has been paralyzed for months on end, and the Houthis are 10 toes down with the Palestinians.
10 toes down. I never heard that expression before, but okay. But then she's saying they aren't letting up. All they need to do is tweet. The Houthis just tweeting has such, such capital, social capital, that it can change the market. That's pretty fucking cool. It's cool when the Houthis does it. It's shitty when Apartheid Clyde does it. But it's always, you always got to be asking yourself, in the service of what?
They aren't letting up. They just need to tweet, and insurance rates
Fuck
skyrocket.
Democrats.
And at
What's
this
up,
point,
Brad Left Dad? Fuck them. I know. I've been fighting with them too. It's just people are fucked in the head. But I'm sorry I could not be more insightful right now. But it's unnerving. People are still trying to get us to vote for Kamala because she's got a $25,000 down payment assistance plan for first-time home buyers. Ain't that something? Well, I guess I can be bought off. I guess I should just forget that there's a genocide being done. Many Israeli Chais are moving to South Cyprus. We read about that too. They're going to Cyprus. They're going all over. The Israeli diaspora, which is not even really a thing because it just means they're going back home to wherever their, first passport tells them to go. Isn't that interesting that there's no such thing as an Israeli diaspora? It can't be done, folks. Because if Israel is not legitimate to begin with, then how could they have a diaspora? You need to recontextualize that shit, dog. They just went back to Poland or Miami. You're trying to buy a house for the family, but I won't vote for it. Yeah, well, that's because you have some fucking principles and a backbone and some empathy and some convictions, But then they'll tell you that you're privileged. And that's what I find, that's what I just want to punch them in I want to punch them in their video games when they tell me that I'm privileged. As if not having to factor in genocide when you go to the ballot box. You don't have to think about your family being slaughtered, or your town getting demolished, or you being thrown into an internment camp and tortured. So you're comfortable enough to where you don't have to factor that in. You don't have to think about it when you go and fill in your vote for the party that's doing those things with your money. I think people don't realize that they have to earn our vote. Like, whatever happened to that mentality? It's all about this, bargaining from this position of weakness that it's like, grow a spine. We need to collectively grow a spine together and be strong and united with each other to show that this is not acceptable. It won't be tolerated. And, I find my disdain. I find my disdain more for liberals that still want to bargain with this myth of the lesser of two evils and projecting their own sense of privilege and self-satisfaction onto the people they're deriding for not being complicit in a genocide. It's pretty gross, and those people are insidious and they're everywhere, and I don't like it. And I have more words for them than I do the open fascists, I find. And I feel like what they are trying to sell us is way more dangerous because of its deceitfulness. And I find that to be more evil. Yeah. I saw a really good meme today. I think Buddy Head shared it. It said, Republicans, we are fascists. Democrats, we are Republicans. And that was just like, that was too good. I had to share that with you right now. But I find that to be true, you know? The ratchet effect is in full display right now. You can see it. Just listen to the rhetoric, listen to the watch the actions unfolding. And you see Kamala trying to play this center-right strategy where she's trying to ingratiate and endear herself to her conservative audience, basically saying that she's a Republican and she just opposes Trump, and look how bipartisan she is. She wants to have she wants to have more Republicans in her cabinet. She's got Dick Cheney endorsing her. She's proud of that. I mean, okay, Hitler's, they're all, I mean, it's so gross to me. And then that's, you know, the Republicans move everything to the right, the Democrats block movement back to the left, and we slide further to the right. That's what's happening right now. It's gotten even worse, you know. And you know, the fact that in the face of all that, when parties or different groups or spontaneous organizations are being organized that are trying to answer or, you know, form an actual material opposition to the fascists, we have, who do we have shitting on that? We have liberals, we have the so-called left, we have the Democrats shaming and conducting purity tests on the actual material opposition that is not bought and sold, that represents the actual leftist, I don't even like that word, but the actual left agenda, if you can call it that. It's they work tandem, you know. It's offense and defense for the same team. And who said that thing about, you know, campaigning with Liz Cheney? Len, thank you. Campaigning with Liz Cheney while sending AOC to attack Jill Stein. You know, vilifying the left. You know, you have Donald Trump saying Kamala is a Marxist, and then you have Kamala saying she's a Republican. And that's what the two-party, uni-party, I would say, system does. The corporate duopoly. You have the Republicans trying to paint the Democrats as this crazy, radical, extremist, communist, Marxist, that's just going to represent the end of the world if they get elected. And meanwhile, they're, you know, fucking army cops, prosecutors that are, you know, endorsed by Dick Cheney, you know, and saying, hey, I'm a Republican. And we're supposed to say, yeah, no, we should keep going on with this. Let's keep apologizing for it, because I'm too comfortable. I don't really want to do anything. We have to, you know, it's arguing from this position of weakness, like I said, but also from like paralysis. Like, where there's no hope. We should be satisfied with this shit sandwich. No, fuck that. We need to send a message. You know, we can't free Palestine until we dismantle this corporate duopoly that we live in. And anything being sold to you that isn't that is just illusion and, I don't know, I can't think of another good word, but you get the idea. Yeah, you will not win any Republicans, or, you know, I mean, like, just, I think it just shows weakness, which is what the Democrats' best strength is, showing their weakness. They're just such a good punching bag. They're like, I'm whatever you need me to be. And the Republicans are just, yeah, let's just push it further to the right, baby. You guys suck. We're like, yeah, we suck. It's just very, very gross. These are some of the most reactionary people that try to co-opt the left. It's gross. Immovable reactionaries trying to sell us some grift of incrementalism. Excuse me while I barf all over your brunch, liberal. Okay? Pardon-moi.
No major shipping company wants anything to do with going through the Red Sea. Guys, there's about 41 million Yemenis. They are all pro-Palestine and they
All
are not going to let
terrorists.
up. So RIP Israel's Red Sea route import and export business with Asia forever, or until Israel is defeated. Coming in at number 4 is the impression that the world now has of Israelis as almost Satan, according to Israelis themselves. Here we've got filmmakers, publishers, producers, artists,
Almost.
creators, and
That's being
musicians
generous.
all saying that they are unwanted internationally. Going forward, how are you going to ever measure what amount of money you could have made when people are just shunning you forever?
That's a good
That's
point.
what's happening to the Israelis.
Yeah, baby.
Israel's pride over its pager attacks against the Lebanese has eroded every last bit of trust left. What tech or digital venture in the world would ever want Israel either up or downstream in its supply chain after something like this? Israel has prided itself in terrorism, digital
Another
and
great
technological
point.
terrorism. How is it going to come back from this? Israel has lost a lot of international trust by lying through their atrocity propaganda. A huge example, of course, is the 40 beheaded babies who didn't even have names or parents and were not listed in the memorial on October 7th. They are never named alongside the hostages. So Israel is just going down in the annals of history next to Joseph Goebbels as a manufacturer of public.
Israel be like, 40 beheaded babies. And everybody's like, okay, where are their bodies? And Israel's like, we don't have them. Okay, where are their parents? They didn't have parents. Okay, well, what were their names? They didn't have names. Okay. Yeah, it's like, well, what are their names? We don't know. Well, where are they acknowledged in any of your memorials for October 7th? Well, they aren't. Okay, why? Because Hamas. People who repeat the lie never bother to look at the casualties list, so they're just virtue signaling every time they parrot the lie. Wait, you're saying that Israel lies? What?
For war. Number 5 has got to be the self-trashing of Israel as a progressive liberal society, because even Israelis, before October 7th, have realized that it is a fascist state and have been quietly exodusing. Doctors have left, academics have left, tech workers have left. They've been incorporating in the United States instead because they don't want their tax money going towards funding fascist ideas. There is actually a threshold, that if a certain number of these middle to upper class workers leave, it will make the economy unviable. But what's funny is that this number hasn't been countable because even the bureaucrats who do the counting have left. Basically, out of its population of about 9 or 10 million people, it's been said that really only 400,000
Israel can't count its money, and Gaza can't count the dead. And that's the difference.
workers are the most productive in the Israeli economy. And if even just 10% of those people leave, so that is 40,000 people, if 40,000 professionals leave, it makes the Israeli economy go into a critical downward spiral. Number 6 has got to be BDS. BDS has had immeasurable impact on crippling companies that have tried to come out as Zionists. Starbucks shares have fallen.
Could we? Every time I hear BDS, I think like BDSM, like bondage and sadomasochism. Could we maybe change it to, I don't know, something else? Like, could we just rearrange it so that it doesn't sound so horny? Maybe SBD. How about the SBD movement? The silent but deadly.
McDonald's shares have fallen. Pizza Hut franchises have closed. Coke is closing down bottling plants. CEOs have been canned. The diamond industry in Israel has been cut by 48%. The biggest boycott against Israel is, of course, Israel itself. Its tourism industry, which is reportedly worth $5 billion, has tanked. Nobody wants to give this genocidal, freakish rogue nation any money. And there have been ripple effects, such as
For real.
illegal settlers can't rent out their Airbnbs anymore. Commercial real estate has cratered because all these tourism spots have had to close. Even residential real estate has cratered because those who've been bankrupt by the lack of tourism can't afford their houses anymore. And of course, no one is buying residential property to make into Airbnbs
Behind the
because
scenes,
they're not
yes.
viable anymore. I'd say related to BDS is the
BDS
protests
is
that
shall
happen
remain.
weekly in cities all over the world have really helped the movement against Israel and in support of Palestinians grow. Here we meet community, we get catharsis, and we learn about BDS. And we feel less alone. Not to mention, it's a welcoming place for anti-Zionist Jews. As you can probably tell, I had a hard time ranking any of these effects, but it's a network effect that is happening with all of these converging at the same time, and it will be the demise of the Israeli economy and project. Tell me in the comments what you think. I present to you the greatest
Okay.
hits to
Oh, hi there. In the past 6 months, I've been banned on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Threads, TikTok, and now YouTube. This is 1000% because of my coverage of Israel's genocide against the Palestinians. In light of being demonetized on all these platforms, I've decided to start exclusively posting to Patreon, where you can sign up for all my posts and live streams for just $3 a month.
Wow.
In addition to having all access to my live streams, you'll also be in a group chat with yours truly.
Wow, that sounds awesome.
I've spent a considerable amount of time and effort trying to build audiences on these platforms only to have them swept away at a moment's notice, and that is pretty frustrating. But I want to say that I'm thankful and grateful for all of your support and kind words throughout all of this, and I hope to see you on these new platforms very soon.